We're at the halfway point of the 2023 NFL season, so it is the perfect time for a brand new 2024 NFL mock draft. The order based on the current one, so no complaining about where your team is picking. We'll operate as if this is how the draft would unfold. So at number 1, the Arizona Cardinals are on the clock. If the Cardinals have that number 1 overall pick with Kyler Murray back, means he probably wasn't that great. And it means it's probably time to reset that clock. So Caleb Williams, I will still put at number 1. As we said way before the year began, wasn't necessarily a true runaway QB1 situation. That's kind of played out this year. Caleb Williams was overhyped. This is why I've banned Mahomes comps. Sets up unrealistic expectations. He needs to be better in the pocket. Needs to just take some checkdowns. But the playmaking is special. And Drake Maye at number 2 overall here to the Bears, which means, again, this pick via the Panthers, to be clear, but they would have the 3rd overall pick anyway. It means that, the quarterback probably wasn't good enough there either. Drake Maye's an awesome prospect as well. Both these guys are good. Drake Maye, I trust more to operate within a structure of an offense, which I actually think that means that maybe Arizona's the better fit with their coaching staff, and Drake Maye's a better fit with Chicago and their staff, although that staff might change in Chicago if they end up with the 3rd overall pick. We'll get to that selection here in a moment. The quarterback 1 battle is going to be fun because both these guys are really good. Hopefully we can have discussions on them without tearing the other one down. Something tells me draft media might not go that route. Who is quarterback 1 for you as we sit right now in early November? DM for Drake Maye, CW for Caleb Williams. Go vote right now. I do think in some order, the top picks are going to be Caleb Williams, Drake Maye, Marvin Harrison Jr. We got to figure out what teams are drafting where, but I think Harrison's the best prospect this year, and that's not even a slight against Williams and Drake Maye. Harrison's a star. He's so good. He'd be an instant playmaker, instant 1,000-yard receiver as long as the quarterback plays in terrible. Pairing up a young QB with Marvin Harrison and DJ Moore in Chicago, you just let Darnell Mooney walk. Oof, that's fun. That's a fun group in Chicago. Unfortunately for the Giants, they do not get a top 3 pick. They missed out on the top 2 quarterbacks, but their offensive line is a mess. Let's spend another first-round pick on one. Fashanu. You play him at right tackle, Andrew Thomas at left tackle once healthy, and Evan Neal can go play guard. And now we've made 2 upgrades, I think, on the offensive line with that move. The Patriots at 5. Patriots fan Jack is going to get mad at me, but Brock Bowers is a classic New England pick. Probably is the best player on the board, and with Mike Gesicki on Henry maybe not coming back next year, adding an upgraded playmaker, you're taking the best pass catcher on the board, actually is a good idea for New England. Who is your favorite NFL draft prospect this year? Maybe not the best, just the guy that you like the most, even relative to expectations. Sound off in the comment section for me right now. Number 6, the Rams pass rush, still an area of concern. I am a big fan of Liatu Latu out of UCLA. I think he's been the most productive pass rusher draft eligible in college football this year. I think the rest of draft media kind of catching up to that one. He is a stud, fills a big role, a big need in LA. Green Bay, Joe Alt. I don't know if David Bakhtiari is going to be able to really play much anymore. There's your replacement. Alt has upped his game. Behind Fashanu, I think it's a pretty clear tackle too. Maybe it's a 1A, 1B situation so far. Keon Coleman, I love watching this guy play. Massive catch radius. Mike Evans is a free agent. May or may not be back. We'll see if that ends up happening. But if you take Keon Coleman, there's your Mike Evans replacement as the big body, can do vertical stuff, do contested catch stuff. It's a really quality wide receiver class. Coleman is a damn good prospect, and I have him as wide receiver too, even though there are several wide receivers who are worthy of being receiver 2, behind, of course, the star in Marvin Harrison Jr. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. It is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. It is just you against the numbers. You pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and see if you come out on top. You don't have to beat 1,000 other people just to, get in the winnings. You just got to beat the numbers. Makes it actually really easy and really fun to play because it's not nearly as annoying when, you had a great week, you got all your picks well, but somebody nailed everything perfectly, and now what are you going to do? You didn't get anything, right? They also offer projections on any sport, not just football, basketball, NBA and college football. They also offer esports if you're into that as well. My picks this week. I love the Seahawks stack of Geno Smith more than receiving yards, Tyler Lockett more than receiving yards. Give me Christian Kirk more than 2. I don't love that one. That's why I'm going the flex play. Nothing was really speaking to me this week. But the flex play, you just got to get 2 out of 3 right. And you come out in the green. It's fantastic. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. Again, that's prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Number 9, Cooper DeJean out of Iowa. I think he's one of the better defensive prospects. He offers immense special teams value, can play any spot in the secondary. I'm a big fan of what DeJean offers, and Damari Mathis has been really bad for Denver. So let's punt on that experiment. Tennessee offensive line help. Doesn't this make sense? Protect franchise guy Will Levis. J.C. Latham, the offensive tackle. Andre Dillard has not been very good on the left side, but Chris Hubbard's been fine as a veteran stopgap on the right side. Either way, take the best available offensive lineman. Number 11, wouldn't it be fun if Shedeur Sanders follows in his dad's footsteps and begins his career in Atlanta? I think quarterback's an issue. Desmond Ridder, I don't think is it. I also don't think Taylor Heineke is it. Like, Heineke is just it's the same guy. He gets away with it somehow. The guy has just so many turnover-worthy plays game in and game out. Get a more accurate quarterback in there who can spread the ball around to Kyle Pitts and Drake London. I think it's a really good fit in Atlanta, especially for the offensive scheme Arthur Smith is trying to force down the throats of fantasy players who hate him with a passion. I also don't know if Sanders turns pro. He could head back to school next year and be the number 1 pick conversation for the entire season. I think he might go back. So will Sanders turn pro this year? Y for yes and for no. I know his dad says he wants to be number 1, but if he gets the word he's going to be a top 15 pick, that's really tough to turn down. But what do you think ends up happening? Y for yes and for no. Will Shedeur turn pro? The Commanders. You trade away Montez Sweat, Chase Young. There's your replacement. Dallas Turner is a really, really good player, by the way. Rome Odunze out of Washington. He's another wide receiver 2 contender. I was going to go with Malik Neighbors to give the Colts some more juice, but Odunze better fits the historical Chris Ballard profile of a bigger-bodied wide receiver. And I think he's a huge upgrade over Alex Pierce. So now you got Pittman, Odunze, Pierce is receiver 4, and Josh Downs in the slot. See, it might not be the biggest need for Indy, but it's a really fun fit for Anthony Richardson. You can take some deep shots now. J.J. McCarthy to the Raiders. I don't think the Raiders are going to stay at the 14th spot. Something tells me they might slide down. Even though team's in better shape with Antonio Pierce, but I think the roster's not in the best shape because that's what Josh McDaniels' tendency to do. But if you're rebuilding, getting a new franchise guy is a great way to start. I don't think it's going to be Aiden O'Connell, unfortunately. I would not be shocked if McCarthy went top 10. We'll see how he plays against better competition. If that signs stealing scandal, which Michigan allegedly broke the rules, but also like all the teams steal signs. It's kind of how it tends to operate. It's not necessarily unique. They just maybe went a little bit too far. See how that impacts McCarthy's draft stock, but I love what I've seen from him this year. How many quarterbacks do you think go in round 1? Sound off in the comments section. Arizona, this pick, by the way, via the Texans. I thought about getting a receiver, but the cornerback room is bad in Arizona. I typically like pairing my franchise pick with an offensive guy, but give me the best defensive player left, Kool-Aid McKinstry, who would really help out that Cardinals secondary. I've often gone with tackles for the Jets. I don't want to give the same team the same spot every time, so I do want to mix things up here. Malik Neighbors. The Jets may have made some mistakes in the wide receiver room. They have Garrett Wilson, they have Allen Lazard, and they don't have enough speed beyond Wilson. Adding a big play machine in Neighbors for Aaron Rodgers or whoever their long-term quarterback ends up being is a really fun addition to that room. The J.C. Jackson addition was a disaster for L.A. Nate Wiggins, very quality corner out of Clemson. Might be a new regime in L.A., adding some new cornerbacks would help for whoever is in charge. Same with Buffalo. The Kaiir Elam pick has surprised me and how poor it has been. Trey Wyatt's coming off another bad injury. They have Christian Benford. They need more cornerback help. Kalen King had a rough go against Ohio State. It's Marvin Harrison Jr. What are you going to expect, right? He's kind of reminds me of the A.J. Terrell stuff. Like, he got cooked by Jamar Chase, but I think he'll be okay in the NFL. By that, I mean good. Jared Verse, I didn't really know where to go with the Saints here. Cam Jordan can't play forever, but he does have several more years left in the tank. I just went with the best player available. So yell at me if you need to, Saints fans. I understand. Chop Robinson to Minnesota. We'll see if Danielle Hunter is back, etc. Marcus Davenport. Edge is an area of concern long-term with what's committed to the roster. Robinson's got the upside to really be a high-end impact player, just not quite there. Yeah, which, by the way, is what they did with Danielle Hunter. And good things actually happened on that front. Cowboys at 21, Amarius Mims. Tyron Smith, when healthy, still good. Can't stay healthy. Mims and Tyler Smith, you can just keep Tyler at left guard in this scenario, is a 10-year duo on the left side of the offensive line that would really help out an O-line that has not been the offensive line Cowboys fans have grown to become accustomed to at their peaks. If you guys love the NFL draft, hit that sub button right now, youtube.com/chatsportstv. More free NFL videos and NFL draft videos for you right here on the channel. Pittsburgh needs a corner. I like what I've seen from Denzel Burke in a bounce-back season. It's a logical 1-2 punch there for me. Thought about going with Emeka Egbuka for Houston because wouldn't that be fun? And Noah Brown had his one big game. He had his big game. He'll now kind of regress back to the mean a little bit there. I'm going to go with Jazon Newton, though. Malik Collins is not a great 3 technique. I know D'Amico Ryans would love to get one. Newton can be that guy and be a disruptive interior force to pair with Will Anderson long term. The Bengals find their new right tackle to replace Jonah Williams long term. Out of Oregon State, Taliese Fuaga. That's a tricky name, I know. Fuaga will go with there. Right tackle for the Beavers has played very well. The jersey colors get to stay the same. It all makes sense. Barrett Carter out of Clemson. I'd like Carter slightly more as of now than Jeremiah Trotter. But I think that with Jordan Brooks and Bobby Wagner not necessarily locked in long-term. They got 1 year left on their dues. They've played well, though. I just don't know if they're going to retain both players when it's all said and done. I do think adding an off-ball linebacker here makes sense for Seattle. Tyler Guyton, who, by the way, is listed at 6'7", 327. Love Trent Williams. The man cannot play forever. Maybe you draft Guyton, either give him a year to grow and develop, or plug him in on the right side while Williams continues to play at the absurd level he does. Jordan Morgan. Again, I'm going to keep throwing offensive line picks for the Dolphins because Austin Jackson remains not it. Good, by the way, very quality tackle class. A lot of guys in this top 50-ish range that are going to get plenty of buzz. Leonard Taylor out of Miami. I thought about going edge this year. I almost went with JT Tuimoloau. I do think the Jags are maybe even missing an interior rusher more. They don't really have a dude up there. Taylor has been up and down. It's fine. I think the upside makes him worth a late round 1 gamble. We almost didn't have any Georgia defensive players in this mock draft. So I'm going to go with Kamari Lassiter, the cornerback who's, again, you're kind of in that, is he a top 30 guy or more of a top 45 guy range here? Corner's an area of long-term need for the Lions. Number 30, I'm going to go with Emeka Egbuka out of Ohio State. I think we have to have the Rashad Bateman isn't very good conversation. He hasn't been impactful enough. And, hey, if I can reduce my snaps for Odell Beckham, who has not been great and is overpaid, and Nelson Aguilar not being my number 2 receiver or number 3 snap count guy, I think that makes sense for Baltimore, whose passing offense has been much better. Imagine that. You move on from Greg Roman, you make a better passing offense. Whomst among us could have seen that one coming? I will also keep throwing picks at wide receiver for the Chiefs. You know, Sky Moore has not really been the piece that I thought he might end up being. Troy Franklin offers you some game-breaking stuff there. Love his fit with the Chiefs. It's kind of an MVS upgrade. And then Tyler Nubin. The Eagles don't normally go safety early, but you know Kevin Byard's going to be there for a year. Almost with another edge rusher, but God, they have so many guys up front. At some point, maybe you take the less valuable position if you're Philly. Plus, Nubin's a really, really good safety prospect. Who did I leave off of my 2024 NFL mock draft? Sound off for me in the comments section right now. 5 names I do want to hit here briefly. JT Tuimoloau, he plays stupid good against Penn State in particular. It's kind of crazy. Brian Thomas, again, it's a loaded wide receiver class. He's been dynamic for LSU. Patrick Paul, the Houston tackle, worth having the conversation. Other quarterbacks, Quinn Ewers, Bo Nix, Michael Penix. Other names I'm leaving off, and my apologies for doing so. I have concerns about Quinn's consistency with the deep ball. I don't know what's going to happen to him. He's kind of in that weird, does he go pro or not go pro situation. And I did want to make note of Jeremiah Trotter as well, the Clemson linebacker. Had that awesome pick 6 against Notre Dame.